Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/culturalstew. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
Please listen carefully.
Welcome to the Cultural Stew Podcast, coming to you from the Goat Factory Media Entertainment Studios. We are your cultural media recommendation podcast, giving you our take on what we think is worth carving your time out for, and also what we think you can pass on and maybe go cut that lawn instead. Warning, we use adult language, and there may be spoilers ahead. Hello and welcome to the Cultural Stew Podcast for the week of November 4th, 2018. This is episode 23, and I am Ron Harkins Jr. I am here with my co-host,
Tony Carter.
And
I am Valerie Vidmar.
Hey, Valerie. How is everybody this week?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good. Valerie, what is a song that would wrap up your week?
It's the end of the world as we know it.
By
REM.
REM.
My brain's not working very fast there.
How about you, Anthony?
I don't know. I've been listening to Radio Gaga by Queen nonstop with my son, and he's been kind of singing along with it, so I guess that kind of works.
Radio Gaga?
Yeah.
Okay. For me, it would be The Good, the Bad, the Ugly with Ennio Morricone.
Okay.
So we are going to shorten our
You just
little
picked that
intro.
so that you could say his name correctly. That's why you picked that song.
No, I think people by the end of the show will know why I chose that. But yeah, instead of us delving into 45 minutes of us talking about ourselves, we're going to try something new. So now we're going to go into today's docket. Today, we're going to talk about the news we care about. We're going to talk about recommendations of the week from Daredevil Season 3, Red Dead Redemption 2, Designated Survivor, and then roll into today's stew. We're going to talk about biopics, musicians, films based on musicians or musical events. And then that's going to bring us to this week's film, Bohemian Rhapsody. So, right into the news that we care about. The biggest news, Gladiator 2.
Yeah, I sent it to you, and that was kind of my dad sent it to me, and I sent it to you, and it's kind of like, well, how are you going to make a movie off of that? And wasn't the original good enough or great? So why fix greatness?
I'm not sure. For those that know me, and I think I might have said it, the Gladiator is among my favorites. Like, it's in the top 3 favorite movies, so it kind of rotates in the number 1 spot depending on how I'm feeling any day. And for many reasons, I thought, aside from having amazing Oscar or amazing performances by the actors, the use of how the editing was and the filmmaking style and music and how that all tied in together just made it all around a phenomenal film for me. And for them to come back and like, okay, we're going to take off. And the initial report was they're going to take Lucian's, the little boy story and continue it on. And I'm just like, I don't need that. I don't want it. And for me, that is also in follow-up to like all the rest of the news that was coming out this week of it's basically sequel and prequel announcement week.
Is it same director?
Same director, Ridley Scott.
Okay.
And the writer of Top Gun 2. Can't remember what his name was right now. But other like sequels that were, excuse me, we got the hiccups now. Sequels and prequels that were announced this week, like Hitman's Bodyguard is getting a sequel. That has been confirmed that they're both on board for that. The Meg is getting a sequel. The Jason Statham big giant movie.
The one they just came out.
The one they just came out with is getting a sequel. And Game of Thrones is getting a prequel. So
as a different show?
As a different show, yes.
Peter Craig is who you're talking about, by the way. The screenwriter is Peter Craig.
For Top Gun 2?
Yes.
Okay. So those are just some of the things, and I'll file them in the same bin of like Hitman's Bodyguard 2. I can see that. I'll go and see a secondary. It had Ryan Reynolds and
Sam Jackson.
Sam Jackson. It was hilarious, funny, liked it, really enjoyed it. Let's see, Red Dead Redemption 2, the opening weekend, $750 million.
A lot of downloads.
That's
a game.
Biggest.
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
And that was just on a weekend. So I think there was only one other one that had a bigger number, and that's because they started on a Tuesday. So because of how they do the box office numbers for games, they end on Sundays as well. So yeah, the first 3 days of Red Dead Redemption was
that's amazing.
$750 million.
That's
for a game.
It's a good game.
That's very interesting because I don't ever look at the
It makes
numbers.
the film industry look really small.
Yeah.
But it's also a game that
cow.
took 8 years to make.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about games, and that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. What else we got?
Let's see. Timeless has their set date for the 2-hour series premiere. I mentioned it last time, but now we know it's coming out December 20th.
And they came out with a little trailer
Yeah.
to tease it.
Yes. Excited.
And what was unique about the trailer?
You share. I don't want to spoil.
That's not spoiling. It's in the trailer.
I know, but you...
They come back from the future and say, let's go get Rufus.
That was the end of the episode. Yeah. See, yeah.
You feel, but we already said that we do spoilers.
I know.
I'm sorry. I don't even know what you're talking about. So
yeah, catch up.
I know.
So December 20th.
8 Central, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. So
if you're in Kansas listening, it'll be 7 o'clock.
Right.
That's right.
Just for you, Al. Just for you. Nano Mo is here. November is writing month for novelists, and I've been kind of overthinking it, which I do all the time. But every time November comes, I'm like, what am I going to write about? And then the whole month's over, and I've written nothing. So I'm trying to break that streak for the 7th year in a row. We'll see how that goes.
So what does that stand for?
National Novel Writing Month.
That's cool.
So, yeah. Or you can write a screenplay or a play. I usually write a play or a screenplay because novels take longer than a month. But
and what happens with them?
I have a reading, and then they sit in my closet and collect dust until I want to produce them. It's kind of a weird thing. I get subconscious about my writing.
Have you had a lot of readings?
No. I mean, a lot in college, not recently. I'm still having that finding my real voice struggle. So I know it's there, but it's not really coming out the way I want it to.
You don't even have to explain that to me, man.
Yeah. So
I've got everything in my head.
I spent all college looking for my voice, so that means I skipped classes a lot. I didn't go to class because I was sleeping and thinking about my voice, and then I was in class thinking a lot of in my head, and my professors got mad and said, "You're not focusing." I'm like, "Why? I told you I'm not going to." But 4 years of that, in high school I didn't really care about it much, but when you're in a theater program, you kind of have to find your writer's voice when people are asking you to write something for them. Trisha can talk all about that when she comes on next time, how she saw me gloomy and moody and not emo, but just depressive. So, but yeah,
the life of a writer.
Yeah, trying to find his voice in college. So it's kind of like A Beautiful Mind, but not physics and all that math stuff, but more literary. But moving on, that's kind of boring. So.
Okay, moving on. Some other news. We got a sneak peek of Henry Cavill as The Witcher. And that was just announced last month that Henry Cavill was going to be slipping into the Witcher role for Netflix. They were actually going to be making a series on that. And now Netflix, to get ahead of the game, just decided to stick a nice little test roll of him walking up to the camera as Geralt in The Witcher. So The Witcher is based off of a game that's as well, but they're actually making it into a full-fledged Netflix series. And Henry Cavill, who is Superman, signed on board to be the lead character, which is impressive because it continues the trend of Netflix being able to rope in high-profile movie, legit film credentials and bring him in to do series instead of just, hey, focus on one movie. They're now focusing on a nice arc over, which I enjoy more.
Did you hear? Netflix wants an Oscar, so that's all this is all about. They're increasing their game, just stepping it up. And
Nothing. I'll bring it up later.
Okay.
All right. And in more news, Falcon and Winter Soldier from the Avengers and Marvel Universe are getting their own spin-off series on Disney's upcoming streaming service. So that'll be interesting, especially if they keep the characters who actually play them
Are they really doing the streaming service? Because I heard they were going to do it, then they didn't do it, or have they just been waiting till...
It's supposed to be coming out next year.
Okay.
They just haven't released the details of it.
Okay.
And it's got to wait until... so the deal with Fox, I believe, is supposed to be finalized in January.
Okay.
And so the streaming service is going to be using the backbone of Hulu.
Okay.
Because that's Fox-owned Hulu. So they're getting Hulu backbone instead of having to develop their own from the ground up.
Makes sense.
And Johnny Depp is reportedly out as Captain Jack Sparrow.
He's been kind of...
Disney. Yeah, he's been kind of off the rails. And they're looking to reboot the Pirates of the Caribbean
Meaning they
series.
booted him, or he decided not to?
They're going to reboot the series, the Pirates series.
And they're saying no to him?
Correct.
I think we should just leave it alone. I mean, we have to...
To me, it'd be hard to imagine anybody else as the captain.
No.
But that's the word, was that they're moving forward, and the way they're going to do it is actually kind of reboot the whole series. So... Okay. In things getting pushed back, Wonder Woman 1984 was pushed back from 2019 to 2020, and Dark Phoenix was officially pushed back into June of 2019, which makes it more sense considering they're waiting for the Fox deal to get finalized, because this will probably be the first Fox film that gets labeled as a Marvel Disney film. And then one more thing that kind of ties into what our stew today is Ava DuVernay is working on a Prince biopic.
Should be good.
Oh, great.
So that'll be kind of cool.
Okay, cool.
All right. Got a couple trailers that came out this week. Probably the one... Oh, go ahead, Anthony. You got something
Okay. I got a few here. We have The Favorite, which is a period piece. It has Emma Stone, Rachel Weisz, and... Coleman, I don't know her last name. Actually, know her, but she is going to be playing in The Crown, playing the Queen Elizabeth. But it's based on a true story. The Favorite, sum up, is about women vying for the attention of the Queen. I think it's Mary, but I saw it a while ago. I just had to put it on here, but it looks very tit for tat.
It's going to be. I'm sorry,
Olivia Colman, I think is her name. Yeah. That's going to be like a powerhouse of two Oscar winners and one Oscar nominee, but it's going to be funny, but also awkward, that's my kind of humor. The Great Buster is a documentary about the great Buster Keaton. It's going to talk about his rise to fame as well as his drinking alcoholism and how they call it a roller coaster kind of in a way, when he was, his slippery slope he had in his life. I saw that on Apple. I had
a car I named my car Keaton.
Keaton?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of car was it?
I don't even remember. Sorry.
Nice car.
Are these, so is this one going to be, are you talking about major motion pictures, or are you talking about it's going to be?
These are like motion pictures like coming out in theaters.
Okay.
What they had is Bob Foster, or Robert Foster, is in this film with Hilary Swank, Michael Shannon, and Blythe Danner. It's basically a film about Blythe Danner is the wife, the mother, who has Alzheimer's, and how the father, the husband, and the children are deciding what to do with their loved one. Robert's been doing a lot of buzz about it, and Jack Garner talked about it recently. They did an interview. I haven't seen it yet, but it's my cue to watch. Robert's been talking about it a whole lot lately, so I'm hoping to catch that soon. And my last piece is The Upside, which I don't want to watch, but I kind of have to because it's a American remake of the Untouchables film with Bryan Cranston and with Kevin Hart. So they have a different spin on it. It's the same skeleton story, but it's set in New York City instead of Paris, and the elements are the same, but they have a different spin. Like the music's a little different, and their dynamics a little different, but still inspired by a true story, but in America. My wife and I are watching the trailer this morning, and we're like, okay. So we'll see.
But Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, Bryan Cranston is why I don't care about Kevin Hart, but I'm going to get Bryan. And Nicole Kidman's in the film, too. So those two are compelling me to see it.
Nicole Kidman. Sorry, I was saying.
But,
by the way, she's in it.
Yeah. So, but Bryan, he's going to be a network on Broadway coming from the National Theater in London. So I'm going to see if I can get down to New York City to see that. It's going to be, that's even a sidestep, but that's going to be a really awesome theatrical experience of like live cameras on stage capturing Network, the stage play, with cameras backstage, on stage, audiences, members on stage with him, and just getting that real visceral energy of Brian's character from the movie adaptation of, the theatrical adaptation of Network, the play.
Cool.
The English are doing a lot of good work over there, so I'm not sure why America didn't do it first, but I'm glad they're doing something. But that's what I have for trailers for me. What about you guys?
The trailers that roped me in, Greenbook.
Yes.
It's got Marsha Ali and Viggo Mortensen.
Yes.
And it roped me in as Viggo is just this New York City driver who's really rough and around the edges, and Marshala is a world-renowned pianist.
Refined pianist,
I didn't catch the name of the pianist he's supposed to be, who goes from playing in New York City to going on tour in the South. And this happens during a rough time to be a black person in the South, in the middle of the civil rights.
1960s American South.
Yeah.
Definitely rough.
And Viggo's character just basically is like, oh yeah, it's going to be a rough time for you, but it just really looked like a really good movie. And I'm going to just say it right now. I can see nominations for both of them just based off the trailer. It looks good. And Marsha, I'm going to murder his name every time I say it.
Mahershala
has been on fire, because the other trailer I saw yesterday was the True Detective Season 3 trailer just came out, and it looks phenomenal. It reminds me of what I saw with Season 1. And it looks like he plays himself in 3 different time periods, and it kind of bounces back and forth because he can't place the events of what happens in order. And so it's just kind of him bouncing back and forth between these 3 time periods.
Tattoos to figure that out. Okay, never mind. Sorry.
So 2 things from him that I'm looking forward to, and it's just everything I've been seeing him in lately is just he's been on fire, and he's a great actor.
Side backstep. So this Jamaican American classical pianist Don Shirley was who he's playing.
Cool. I've been housebound and underground. I feel like I have no idea what's going on out there, but I escaped a little bit to go see Bohemian Rhapsody, and I got there in time, or not in time, but
you got treated too?
Yeah, sorry. There's another Grinch movie coming out. Another one. However, my niece is very excited. I guess Benedict Cumberbatch is the Grinch. So,
if there's an upside,
well, that's
where the upside is.
Zoe, my daughter, was talking about, there's so many Grinch movies, and I'm not a Grinch person. And so Kendra said, this is a classically trained Shakespearean actor playing the Grinch. This is going to be great. I'm like, you can take the girls. It's fine. But I didn't see anything particularly different or special about this one, but we'll see what they do with it. But it's coming out actually
next week.
I don't think Jim Carrey did a bad job as the Grinch. I think he embodied the character's physicality.
That's scary.
In the whole mugging of his face. I think Jim Carrey was probably born to play that part, but Benedict playing it can probably play it, a little differently. So I'm going to probably see that with my wife and see how we take on that, because she wants to see that as well.
Well, the biggest difference is, you're talking 3D animation versus somebody dressing up and doing live action.
Do we know if Benedict...
I don't think there's anybody else that could have pulled off doing the live action besides Jim Carrey.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think there's a physical character out there that brings his kind of presence to it. And even though it wasn't the greatest movie, I just, even Mike Myers, you saw Mike Myers in The Cat in the Hat. Myers is a physical character, but couldn't pull off The Cat in the Hat very well.
Andy Serkis? No?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think it was the time for Jim to do it, and he did it. But
It was terrifying.
Yeah.
I think that movie is scary.
The Grinch is a terrifying looking character in general.
I guess he's supposed to be, right?
Well, you think about like half of the things that you see in like animation things. There was a site out there where people would actually take those animations and like, this is what they would look like in real life, and like make them as real photorealistic as possible. And it's like, yeah, that would scare the living daylights out of somebody. Mm-hmm. And like they took like the Looney Tunes characters and put them what they would look like in real life if they were.
They would be scary.
Yeah.
Samity, what's his name? Samity Sam. What's his name?
Yosemite Sam.
Okay, he would be scary, I think.
Yeah. So Bugs Bunny.
Well, I think that wraps up our news section today.
And trailers.
Moving right into the recommendation lips. Up first, we got...
Well, oh my gosh, Charlie Cox. Okay, so Daredevil came out. Actually, I was late in getting onto this, but because, yeah.
It came out the Friday before our last show.
Yeah, and you had already seen everything already, which was, yeah.
Well, I tend to watch stuff in binge mode.
I can't. I mean, I do it, and here's the truth. This is why I was so tired and so whacked out when Jason got home. It's because I could not stop watching them, and so I would watch them until 1:30 in the morning.
Good for you.
Then have to get up at 6:30.
Not good for
and
you.
do the girls, and then not take a nap because I just couldn't. This week
I need to get back to the.
This crazy. No, I didn't watch during the day. Only at night. I don't watch TV during the day. You would think, but I don't. This week was crazy with Halloween. So, but Daredevil, Charlie Cox. I was the last Daredevil. Was okay. I thought it was last season. I mean,
okay.
And
no, we're not talking about Ben.
No, we're not.
In a moment, it's okay.
But this, where he loses his way, kind of. I don't know. I felt it was interesting because I'm now.
He definitely had that. I don't believe that my thinking of what I was doing was the right thing because it doesn't make a difference.
He was really screwed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he actually got really hurt last season. So he's being taken care of by someone very important to him.
Well, that came from Defenders.
Oh. Well, I would.
Because at the end of Defenders, the whole building and everything collapses on him and Elektra and kills Elektra. And we thought he was dead. And then the end of Defenders was him in the hospital bed.
Oh.
So that's where this is coming from is everybody thinks he's dead because he died in the building falling on top of him.
Okay.
During the big battle. So
if you're watching season 2, I watched, because I saw the first episode.
Season 2 is the battles with the hand.
They don't deal with this. And so I had no clue where this came from. So I was like, wait a minute. So I go back season 2 and watch the last episode. Nothing. I thought, so okay, thank you. I was thinking, where the hell did this come from? So
so spoiler alert, Elektra's dead.
Yeah, and he's all messed up. And
but that also explains why his friends are messed up too, because they think he's dead.
Yeah.
But one of them,
Karen and Foggy, are, doing their own thing, and everybody's split up, and then the three are split up, and they, of course, have their own things going on. And we have Wilson Fisk back into the picture, which he really brings presence, I think.
He's the best villain I've ever seen in the Marvel Universe on film.
He's fantastic. And scary as hell. He's very scary. So what can I say about this? I now wonder, is he ever going to wear the suit again? Are they going to bring his suit back? Because he doesn't wear the suit. He burns the suit. And then Wilson Fisk decides he's going to have somebody put on the suit and make him the villain. And you have to see what happens. I don't want to give the spoiler with this, Billy, But I feel like
just go ahead.
no.
We give away spoilers.
But it's not. It hasn't been on. Yeah,
it's been on for 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh! You haven't watched it by now. I mean, gosh. But yeah,
we give spoilers for movies that have been out for like a day.
But it's true. That's true. And one of the reviews I read was, it was still a positive review, except that she said something about how still 13 episodes is too long on Netflix. It's too many. That's too many episodes. And I feel like,
I think
what the hell?
10 should be around.
No.
If they have a good enough story to tell, they can stretch it to 13.
And
if it's not tight, it needs to be brought down to 10.
Did you feel like this was tight?
There was a little bit of a slow time. What the biggest thing that stood out to me from this season was how much screen time Karen and Foggy got.
Yeah, they did.
I mean,
Karen.
I would go back through, and I'm betting to say that they probably got more screen time than Daredevil did.
Charlie Cox.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that they probably did. And whether that's a monetary thing to like, oh, you're not, this is how we're going to balance out the thing.
Or he's doing something else that we don't know about. I don't know.
Because Fisk sure got a lot of screen time.
Oh,
but
yeah.
the amount of screen time that Karen and Foggy got was a little bit much for me. It's like, yeah, but I want to know more about Cox. I was enjoying more of his pity party, and I would have loved to seen him kind of just like raw reactions of like, when you're pissed and like somebody walks up to you and you just want to punch him. I would have wished just to see more of his, because that's the character that they're basing that off of in the film. It was just, he was just a guy who's just stopped caring and just like, all my feeling is gone. Everything I believed in was gone. The flag banner that I was holding just means nothing in this world because everything I do just turns to shit.
Yeah. So because I don't know anything about,
that's okay. I was shocked when I saw that you were going to be talking about this. I was like, wow, this is big.
I am not. Yeah, we all know this. I don't watch many of these movies, and I'm not big on that. Daredevil. I love Daredevil. I don't know. I've always loved him. So, they actually slam what's her bucket in this.
Jessica Jones.
Yeah. They slam Jessica Jones, and I think that's really funny. Also, so at the end, we've got a new character that comes that has special that has
Bullseye.
Is that who it is?
That's it. That's his name in the comics is
okay.
Bullseye.
I was wondering.
He's
who
never
this person
referred to as Bullseye in this because he basically was developed as a different character. So this gives him a whole new.
So in his
creation.
eyes at the end, when his eyes pop open, when he's in
you see
surgery,
the bullseye.
You see the bullseye.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's a character that's going to be coming in the future, correct?
Yep. And so the interesting connection, so the Netflix Marvel series has never been able to bring in the X-Men universe because they've been separated by rights. So they've been owned by Fox. And so you're familiar with Wolverine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Adamantium, that special
like the
metal.
X-Men.
Well, Marvel has never been able to use adamantium or mutants as things that they were able to talk about because of the licensing deal because Fox had it. Well, the connection here is because Bullseye, what they're doing on his back, he's in the comics, he's being infused with adamantium. And so there's the whole connection between him and the Weapon X program and all of that goes around.
He broke his back, and so they're doing surgery on his backbone. So they're putting it in. So
the original story of Bullseye has him being infused with adamantium. So it was an interesting connection, and it just happens at the point where they're like 2 months away from being able to legally use all of the terminology and everything going forward. So this could drastically change Daredevil as to where it's going.
I don't really like the character. I didn't really like the character Bullseye. I mean, I didn't like the actor. I don't know. I didn't really. Does that make sense? Like how we love Wilson Fisk is like.
So here's a fun one for you. Do you want to know who played Bullseye the first time in the Ben Affleck movie? Colin Farrell.
No way, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
I like Colin Farrell.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do with this, especially now that they canceled Luke Cage and Iron Fist to see how and what they're going to continue with the Daredevil. Are we now done with Daredevil now that Disney's streaming service is coming?
I surely
or are they going to continue it?
Daredevil is their number one.
The
Marvel.
The ratings I just saw were saying that the viewership was way down on Daredevil season 3. I think that's partially due to season 2 was not great.
I know that's what happened. But Rotten Tomatoes, I would say that it came up with the critics love this one. They got 93%.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a solid story. Mm-hmm. My only complaint was that Karen and Foggy got way too much screen time. And I think if you cut that screen time down and a little bit of that kind of story that was involved with the two of them, we probably would have gotten 10 episodes instead of 13. I think they just stretched a little bit of that story out a little bit too much.
I was fine with it. So. But there we go. I watch it. There's my don't go cut the lawn instead on this one. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I say watch it. It definitely is a go for me. Anthony, what do you got?
Let's see here. Designated Survivor finally landed on Netflix. So I saw the first season when I was on TV, naturally, and I was kind of waiting for season 2 and kind of kept missing it because of, parenting and work stuff. So I was able to catch season 2. And there's a lot of stuff going on Designated Survivor. If you don't know, it's about a man who was the housing secretary who was to be fired by the president after the State of the Union address. But the president and the whole land succession ahead of him were murdered, assassinated.
I didn't know they were going to fire him. I thought he was just chosen to be because one person has to be out.
Yeah, he was, but he was going to be fired.
Yeah, they were setting him up to be fired.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Okay. And the whole land succession was assassinated, terminated, killed in the Capitol blast, and he's in line to become president. And the whole series is about him balancing the new responsibilities of president when he knows nothing of what he's doing, how he's going to do it, and his family life, and so just a lot of strife and drama in his staff.
Is this a likable character?
Yes.
Okay.
I always call it Designated Survivor 24, but with the president, because a lot of people come over from.
And aside from the designated strife with his family, the underlying plot that's going on,
right? It's a mess. It's a good show. I mean, I like it a lot. I like Kiefer Sutherland. I also like Cal Penn, who plays the speechwriter, so to speak, character, then becomes press secretary in season 1. Just a lot of interesting dynamics that go on there, and it lets you know. I guess West Wing did it too, not better, but just as well. But I think this is our West Wing, even though West Wing is not that old. If that makes sense.
Nothing competes with West Wing. Don't go there. West Wing is
sorry.
No.
I can't. Yeah, it's good having another voice besides Sorkin talking about politics and things like that.
Yeah,
so
I understand. I do want to see this.
So I mean. It's kind of hard to explain things because every episode is something different, but there's a continuing thread throughout it, and it's just him trying to keep his head above water. I would say watch it. Season 1 and 2 are on Netflix. I want to go into more about it, but it's no time. I'll get it, keep going. Just watch season 1. Virginia Marsden is in it, who was in Sideways, and she's in this. There's a lot of just fundamentally powerful stuff. If you like House of Cards, you'll probably like Designated Survivor. I would.
I have to say, I watched the first season. Yeah. I did not put it on my renewal thing for the second season. I just felt it kind of pushed a little bit too much far out there stuff instead of grounding it. And you got somebody like Kiefer. I mean, after watching 24 religiously, I mean, you're like, the dude's an action dude. You've got to put some action in there. And it's like, oh, they're pushing this a little too close to the weirdness of 24 of like these side threads that were just like so unbelievable. They're like, come on. But I mean,
that's why I call it 24, but in the White House.
It has its moments. I like seeing him as president. It's just something weird. I'm just like, he pulls off a good president.
I like Kiefer.
He does.
I've always loved
him
Kiefer.
And his father. I love the two of them. They're both great actors.
He was in my locker in high school.
Kiefer or his father?
Kiefer.
Okay.
Kiefer was.
Was it from Lost Boys?
No. It was, I actually got that one from Young Guns.
That's what I was going to say.
But I spent a good half of the day writing I Heart Kiefer on a huge rock at Wilson Lake in Kansas.
Still there?
Yeah. I would think it would be there.
You should go
It's
there
huge.
and find out.
I heart Kiefer. I went through major Kiefer Sutherland stage.
The mystery has been solved.
Right.
I am the one that did.
What, 20 year
Oh my gosh.
mystery?
25 to 30. No, I'm just kidding. No, 25. But yeah.
If anybody's listening,
Go find that rock and call
there's
us.
some
and let us know.
podcast out there that's been trying to figure this out forever. And they're like,
Wilson
really?
Lake in Kansas.
the
Yeah.
Wilson Lake graffiti mystery has been solved.
Yeah.
I would
ahead.
say, Val, if you like Kiefer, we all know you do a lot. Go and watch Designated Survivor.
Okay, I will.
Yeah. I do give it a recommend. I mean, I definitely,
It takes you to get
it was
into
just
it.
one of those for me. It was like, it wasn't enough to like, do I want to fill up my time with more of this, which is, it started becoming a little bit formulaic and predictable as to where it was headed.
Let me tell you something. It's like House of Cards. I always tell people House of Cards, if it was on network television like ABC, I probably wouldn't have watched it because there's just so much going on and
There's no way
then
it could
you have to
be.
wait. So I think Designated Survivor does best when you can just watch it all in one. And headline, Netflix is picking up season 3 because it was canceled. So Netflix is now, that's why it's on Netflix, because Netflix has saved it
interesting.
from the embers. It didn't save Timeless, but saved Survivor. But no grudges. No, I'm not angry.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are. I feel the anger.
He's in here stabbing a picture of
There's
ABC.
so many things to watch. It's overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
It is. It's just,
I look at it that I'm pretty lucky to live in a situation with my family where I have a wife who knows of my love of watching a lot of stuff and spending a lot of time with media.
that's nice.
Because I totally get it how most people would not spend their time doing and watching as much shit as I do. But I've had many people just like, where do you find the time? It's just like, I kind of use any time that's open.
Yeah.
And
If you're an escape person. I mean, I'm an escapist.
I'm an escapist, but I'm also somebody like, I have a bunch of stuff on the DVR that like, it doesn't require 100% attention. So if I'm just doing stuff on the couch, reading, whatnot, I'll throw on an episode and it'll be on in the background and I can still follow along because
see, I can't do that. That's why I listen to books.
It's only certain stuff. I just call them throwaway shows because I don't like silence. If that makes sense.
Oh my gosh.
Grace
So
is that way.
today,
Like a completely silent house drives me nuts.
Today we came back from breakfast, and Jason is on the couch, and we have a couch in our kitchen, and
What?
Wait, what?
we have a couch
In
our
the kitchen?
Why?
Yeah.
Love seat or sofa?
Was this part of the
no,
remodel?
it's bigger. Yeah. Well, no. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I had to see this.
Because I don't remember seeing it last time I was there.
Yeah, it's part of the remodel. Have you been there since the remodel?
Nope.
Okay.
I've been
We
outside, but
had
not
to
inside.
remodel people, and we had
They have a couch in the
dishwasher incident, so it's not like.
Oh yeah, we talked about this. It was on our first episodes.
It was.
I know. Go back and listen to it. It's so fascinating. Anyway, but it was so.
going to get its new spin-off episodes.
It was so quiet today, and I kept tapping I said, "It's too quiet in here." And Jason said, "It's kind of nice." I said, "I don't know what's going on. I can't do this." And I kept tapping my foot, and I was tapping my foot. I was going crazy. I almost had to put music on, but it was so quiet. I can't sleep in the quiet. I can't do that. I have to have a fan on. I have to have white noise. Something like that. Actually, I listen to books to go to sleep to. Yeah. So
We have a rule in my house when it's time for bedtime. In my bedroom, especially, we can't listen to music. We have Sebastian still in the room because he's 4 months old. Yay. We can't listen he can listen to music all day long. And he listens to Sade. That's his favorite artist. Also, Freddie
Are you
Mercury.
serious?
That's what he puts him to sleep. But my rule is, since day one when Grace and I were married, said, I cannot have vocal lyrics over my sleep because it messes with my dreams. It starts going in my head and I start dreaming about whatever the song's about. And it throws me off. Either. So it has to be instrumental. So listen to Spa on Amazon Echo.
And then everything in your dreams has weird music over it.
Right. It's just,
So that's why you looked at me weird when I said I'd listen to books.
Yeah.
I know. I can't listen to music, but I can listen to books. But I've been doing it since I was a little girl, listening to books to go to sleep. So I think
Grace needs to have the fan or something going on and go to sleep, and it drives me nuts because I don't need noise. I just need. So
you can be in the silent.
When I'm sleeping, yeah, I prefer to have silence, but I hear all night. So, but yeah, that's just me. Yeah. Sorry, Grace, but that's just how it is.
So speaking of spending time doing something that's insane to most people, my recommendation this week is Red Dead Redemption 2. Don't usually talk about games in depth here, but I am going to talk about this one because it is something that if you're into gaming and you like Old West, like I'm a huge Western film fan.
What are you playing it on?
PlayStation 4.
Okay.
It is on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I appreciate what they did with this game big time because they put in a very engaging story. You know, it's very easy to just put a throwaway story in it and just walk around and, you know, shoot people, rob banks kind of thing. But they took the time to actually like tell a story that like if you could watch a film and then you can watch another film and you watch another film and they were all connected and it's just telling a story. But instead of you viewing the film, you're actually participating in the film and in the story. And like every decision you make has consequences. So if you just want to have...
Is it like a choose your own adventure type of thing?
Kind of.
Yeah, the way they've designed it. So like...
That's why it took so long.
You play the character of Arthur Morgan. It takes place before Red Dead Redemption 1. So Red Dead Redemption 1 was based on John Marston and his family out west and him being, I can't remember if it was the FBI or the Pinkertons, basically forced him to work for them to be able to free his family. And so that was the whole thing. And you met some of these weird characters through Red Dead Redemption 1. Well, they were John Marston's old gang. And what they did was with Red Dead Redemption 2, they took all those characters and they actually showed you the gang. You're part of Arthur's gang because Arthur was part of John's gang, but John was much younger and his son was younger and his wife was younger. And all these weird little characters that you met through the first game are in this gang. You interact with them, you do missions with them. And the Pinkertons, you meet them along the way. But they've designed it so that you get to choose what type of conscious and what type of person Arthur is. He's either going to be a gang, you know, the gang life, they don't do it as like, oh yeah, these guys are just out there constantly shooting and robbing people. They're doing it as a way to live, a way to embrace the spirit of being in America, not being tied down by the rules of society. And they're a very quickly diminishing group of people as civilization starts taking over the West. You know, that was the big draw of the West, was there's no rules, no limits on society. You do what you want to live. And that's how a lot of the outlaw games is they do it. It's like civilization came in, outlaw way was the way to keep your existing way of living. Did
you finish this game?
No.
Okay. So I was wondering.
I'm getting there.
How they do that. How you do they have hours in mind? Like how many hours it would take to finish something in mind?
I'm getting there. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
So Arthur, like I said, they give Arthur basically, and you as the character, a way to what type of outlaw is he going to be? Is he going to be an outlaw who just does bad things because he's a bad dude and likes to do bad things? Or he's a guy because he's doing it because that's the way for him to survive and to help the people that he cares about. So, you know, for example, you're riding a horse and all of a sudden there's a lady on the side of the road who fell off her horse and broke her leg. You have the option, like, are you going to help her and get her back to town, or are you just going to walk by her? You could shoot her. You could lasso her and tie her up to the rope and drag her. You can do anything you want to do. But if you choose to help her, then it takes your meter and basically moves you up to the good. And the more you do good, the game actually finds a way to reward you in the way that people respond to you. So if you're walking down the street of a town and like you've been doing good things, people recognize you and like, oh man, you're the dude that helped me out in doing this. Let me go buy you something in the store, and continually rewards you. Whereas if you go down the other side of the scale and you start doing like, you randomly decide to steal somebody's horse, you walk into a bank and try to hold up the bank, people recognize you as this bad person.
Do you go and can you shoot people in the bank?
You can do whatever you want. The game is completely...
How you can't Like how, what is the word? How violent are we talking about here?
It's violent. I mean, they try to make it as real like consequences as possible. So like you shoot somebody, you're going to see the...
what I'm trying to get at is you couldn't do anything to the girl on the side of the road.
No, you can't rape them.
No.
They don't give you that option.
Okay. I'm just
it's
checking.
basically you can do a violent action or like good action, or you can just be ambivalent and completely ignore it and walk away.
But you can tie her up and drag her behind you?
You could.
Yeah.
I mean,
God.
I haven't done it, but it's theoretical. You can lasso anybody and anything. You can lasso an animal. So there's like 200 different animals in this that you can discover and find. The map is insanely huge. But like I said, it's just...
That's interesting.
It's impressive the detail that they put into this, not only from the game side, but the game mechanics, but the level of like, hey, what kind of character are you going to be? Are you going to be a really evil person, or are you going to actually try to be a good person? And the game senses that and rewards you from that. And everybody that you come in contact with reacts to what your decisions are.
Have you checked on YouTube? If you, some people play games and then they film themselves playing the game and then they put it on YouTube.
I'm not much into that.
No, I just wondered if it was on there.
Oh, I'm pretty
You
sure
can watch
it is.
people play this game.
They advertise the
Interesting.
game as it takes 60 hours of game time from beginning to end. Now, that is just purely straight going through the required missions to get to the end. That doesn't include all of the hundreds of side missions that are out there. Like, you'll randomly meet strangers that need like certain things done. And each character has like these really just like blossoming stories. They're just like, well, they actually put a lot of thought into this. Like, you meet a guy who is basically the breakthrough for remote control, but he's actually trying to sell his remote control invention as something else, as like the ticket to immortality. But you meet him in terms of like him talking about, he's just trying to control a toy boat and he's trying to sell it to people, and you get to help him. They're just involved and they're detailed and they use a lot of history and background. And so you learn a lot from these people as well. And I just really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it if you're a gamer. Just prepared to spend a lot of time. And I'm kind of at the point, like, I'm not even 50%, I think, through. I've been pretty much playing it since last Friday.
You're meeting somebody who is inventing the remote control in something that's in the Old West?
It was 1899, so it's
you
already have electricity and all that is already happening.
Cool. Well,
Yeah,
I just didn't even think about that.
Like I said, it's the intersection of when civilization started taking over the Old West.
Oh.
So these people are they're running from advance of civilization to try to keep their way of life going, and it's interesting. It's a lot of detail, a lot of time put into it. And if you have the time, like, my time is going to die down now. I mean, there's no way I can play the amount I played this week. I had this week open, so I played a lot and just enjoyed the story. And like I said, it's like watching film after film of Westerns.
Does your wife watch you play games too?
She's sat there. I mean, she's browsing Facebook or doing her work for school, and she'll be sitting on the couch, and like some of the conversations and stuff that happen are hilarious. They're just like, did they just, what the, and like, the horse poops, little things like that. If you stand around, horse lifts up his tail and you hear, so, my youngest daughter is sitting there cracking up because she's like, did he just fart? And I was like, actually that's what a horse does before they fart or before they poop, the kind of a release of air. And then
I'm so
like the little details they throw in, like, the horse flicking off flies off of its ear. It's just so detailed and like immersive.
That's cool.
Like, I get lost in games
everything.
like that.
And
you should play it. We should have a Red Dead party.
Gaming isn't for everybody, but like I said, this type of game was definitely for me. I love the first one. I love feeling like I'm in a film.
Being able to navigate using a remote control and thinking about what all the buttons are and what they do, and playing a game has never been something that I was able to do. Like, I can't do that. That's too much. Things to memorize.
This one doesn't take that much thinking because the controls that they use.
I'm an Atari person. Like,
the controls and setup they use, they take a very long time of explaining to you as to what they are, and they give you a lot of setup and tutorial.
Things to remember.
But it's not button mashing. You're not like, oh, I have to do A, B, up, down, up, down. Like, it's not that kind. It's like, yeah, it's very slow and very methodical. It's like you do everything with purpose. You don't just do it because you can do it. So, yeah.
Wow.
So it's a high recommend on my list. I say go for it if you're a gamer and you have time to spare.
I think a lot of people already have.
Yeah, 750 million and counting. So, all right. So, do you got any reads or no?
I am reading something that's kind of cute, but I finish something recently? Actually, I started 10% Happier by Dan Harris that was on Audible. And so I'm kind of reading that. That has to do with meditation and how that drew into his life because he got stressed out. I guess he had a meltdown on camera when he was on Good Morning America. So I am reading that, but I'm also reading or listening to, I should say, Lost for Words by Stephanie Butland. And I like that she talks a lot about poetry, books. It's very interesting so far. So, but I mean, that's what I've been listening to. I kind of had a whole bunch of things that I was, you finish a book. I finished In Pieces by Sally Field. I loved it, and it doesn't really deal with the movies that she's in. It deals with her relationship with her mother, her childhood, and the struggles that she's had. Unfortunately, she did write this, of course, before Burt Reynolds passed away, and they had a relationship, and she does not paint him in a good light. So that was kind of sad to hear. But, wow. I recommend the book highly, especially to people that struggle with, who had difficult childhoods. I did not have as difficult a childhood as she did at all. But she deals with a lot of anxiety and she deals with, kind of immersing into the world and how she does that. It's kind of amazing because you don't even think about it when you see these characters that she plays in the movies. So it's not I played this movie character and this is how it went. She doesn't really do that. Jane Fonda kind of does that in hers, but I recommend that. In Pieces by Sally Field.
And where can you find it?
We're doing talking about guys, I'm tired. But you can find it on audibletrial.com/cultural stew.
Awesome. And one of the ones I just started up, I don't know if you caught the Netflix series Mindhunter.
Oh, yeah.
It's got Jonathan Groff in it.
Watched it.
So I'm actually listening to the book that's kind of based off of. It's just called Mindhunter as well. And so I just started that. It's like 14 hours long, so it's going to dig in to listen to that one. But first hour so far has been okay.
First hour.
I really enjoyed the Netflix series, so we'll see how it compares.
That it came off of the book, right?
The Netflix series was based off the book. Yeah.
So I'm sure that it'll look up for you.
But the biggest difference was the Netflix series, the two characters aren't real. They're how do I explain that?
Composites.
Yeah, they're composites of real characters. They're a little bit different than the actual people that it's based off on. So Mindhunters is the actual story from the actual guy. And Mindhunters, the film, is loosely based on characters that they created from different people, but they're not 100% like this is the actual character kind of guy and this is the actual
There's so many things on there. So people go to audibletrial.com/cultural stew.
Speaking of stew, let's roll right into today's stew. Today we're going to be talking about biopics or movies based on music, events, or musicians. So I just wanted to talk about this because Bohemian Rhapsody was coming out and it seemed like a good time, and like Rocket Man is coming out in a couple weeks, I think January, was it December, January? Anyways, the one based on Elton John. And we have a huge collection of films to choose from. And I even I went to Facebook and I just kind of put this out there. I'm like, hey, people, what are your favorite ones? And the number of people that responded as to like what their favorite stuff are. And they range from, movies that are based on actual musicians or an event to mockumentaries that are like,
right.
These are, and the biggest mockumentary was probably This Is Spinal Tap. I mean, everybody that put a fake one on there was basically that one. I don't think I saw any.
My husband put that one on there. I did the same thing.
Yeah, and it's a great film. And then there were a couple people that were actually also posting just like, hey, these are the YouTube versions of concerts. So there's a lot of concert video that people like to watch. So I just want to chat about a couple and, see what makes a good film about a musician, what liberties are okay to take, what kind of things instantly turn you off. So Anthony, what films popped in your head?
Selena was the first one that popped in my head, actually. I think that's the first one I remember seeing, I think. The one I actually have most vividly in my head with Jennifer Lopez. That's when I first realized who Jennifer Lopez was. Selena is about the singer Selena, who was very popular in the 80s and the early 90s, and then she, died unfortunately young from a murder from one of her best friends, her business manager. But I guess for me, I like things in sequence, not sequential order, but things that make sense in the order that they happened. I can talk more about that with Bohemian Rhapsody, but other films I find, just in general, I like things happening in the timeline that they happen. I don't like things jumping out and putting them in places they don't belong just for artistic license, I guess. Being a writer, I guess that strikes out to me is that when a film has all this history and then they move things around in the timeline to make a dramatic point, that takes me out of the movie, especially when I know the history of the person. There are sometimes you can take creative licenses where you can, take certain people out. Like you could take a daughter out or a son out or remove a person, or you can go posit people, and that makes sense to me. So I guess that works. But as a whole, I think just timeline jumping and ignoring facts kind of.
What would be one of your favorite?
I don't think I have one yet. I think Selena, like I said, still sticks in my mind, but I don't have a favorite yet.
What about one of the worst that you've ever seen?
Ooh. I think La Bamba would be worse in terms of performance. I mean, I like Lou Diamond Phillips a lot, but I think his lip syncing was pretty horrible in that movie. I'm not sure what was going on with that. The story as a whole was good, but his singing and concerts were pretty rough. Why Do Fools Fall in Love on HBO with Richie, not Richie, I should know his name, but he, I don't know his name. I should look it up. I just popped in my head actually. I didn't even put him down on the sheet. But there's especially Halle Berry was in that film, and that was a biopic as well. And it was about three women going after the state of one of the most popular singers of his time, which he was with Little Richard and that group, the Bobs.
Right. Okay.
So I'm drawing blanks right now, but
it's okay.
Yeah. I'll pop in here and out, but I think for me, being a writer, I try to stick to time. And when it's messed with for the sake of artistic license, I have a problem with that.
A lot of people wouldn't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the problem. I know too much, so I read too much.
But I think that, I think a lot of people wouldn't know that. I would say that I watched a lot of these, and I put out the same thing on Facebook. And I got a lot of answers, especially from my sister when he had lots to say. But we grew up kind of watching, Coal Miner's Daughter and Sweet Dreams and those types of things. I mean, I watched them. I was trying to think. I said the first thing that popped into my head was something. that I watched when I believe it came out in 1984 or 1985. I can't remember, but Amadeus, when I went to see Amadeus, I think when I was around 10 years old. And I remember being mesmerized by it. I have absolutely no idea if that movie, I mean, you know what I mean? The movie obviously takes, I would assume, some liberties there. But I was mesmerized by that. I then, you know those movies that are bad, but you like them? Okay. So I don't think The Doors is particularly a good movie, but I loved it. I loved the soundtrack, and I thought that Val Kilmer did a fantastic job into kind of like disappearing into the character of Jim Morrison. So I listened to that soundtrack a lot, which is kind of interesting. When you really love the soundtrack of the person that is singing, that's not the person that they are portraying, like Walk the Line with Joaquin Phoenix, and I loved the soundtrack. So Reese Witherspoon won Best Actress for that, which was interesting for me. I don't know. I didn't see that coming, and I feel like I don't know who beat Joaquin that year, but
was that Daniel Day-Lewis that year?
Oh well, geez.
Yeah, a second. I'll find that.
Probably. And then we had Spinal Tap, of course, but you know what? Sorry,
what?
It's like me. I don't like Spinal Tap, but I'm also the person that doesn't like Forrest Gump. So here we go.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
My friend Barry doesn't either, so don't worry.
So the interesting thing is that I tried to watch something that got great reviews, and my friend Sebastian suggested, and I'm going to get there. What the hell was it called? Jason and I tried to watch it. It was the movie about... I'm sounding like a complete airhead right now, and I apologize. Control.
Oh, the one about English band.
Yeah, Control. So
what was that? Joy
Division.
Joy Division, yeah.
Okay, which I'd never heard of, Joy Division. And we tried watching that movie. Sebastian, I'm sorry, but it was so slow. It's a beautiful shot movie, but I couldn't do it. But I didn't like that one. So there was lots of, I don't particularly think that Purple Rain is fantastic, but I love it because it's Prince.
It's got Prince in it, yeah.
You know, it's Prince, and and then we had an interesting thing where people were wondering if, can I say Eddie and the Cruisers? I loved Eddie and the Cruisers when I was a kid. And they're fake, the fake bands, and I thought Eddie and the Cruisers were real. And then there's a movie.
Following the big thing, you got like That Thing You Do was one of the comments on mine because of the fake bands.
Yeah, so I think that was interesting. And then the one movie that I didn't get to see, and it was actually mentioned by Stacey and by my friend Teresa, was Velvet Goldmine, and I haven't seen that, and that's based off of somebody who's fake. I would say I kind of want to see that. What is that? Anyway, there's the sound in the studio.
It was outside the studio.
I know, a little scary. Okay, so I want to see that one. But yeah, I think that there was one. Oh, there was a documentary that my friend Rhonda said, Searching for Sugar Man. Mm-hmm. I have not seen that yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet. But
they
think
say
that one.
Yes.
One Best Doc.
Yeah, and then there was a lot of people that really commented on this Mr. Oliver's opus, The Rose, etc. So I mean, there's so many out there, but my favorite, I don't know. Like I think. I don't know. Amadeus kind of comes up in my head.
It's a good film. It really is.
And my sister, Wendy, who's been on the show, she isn't. She's an artist. Whether she says she doesn't draw, but she can draw. She's amazing amazing. But she doesn't do that.
The one thing about artists are they're self-deprecating.
White.
So, and Amadeus is she drew the cover of the movie and she painted it in our attic. She also did the True Blue Madonna with the leather coat.
Are they still in your attic?
Yeah. These are fantastic.
Picture of them.
Oh, I'll tell her to post pictures of them because you won't believe it. I'm not talking about, she's my sister, so I think they're good. I'm talking about the fact that they're damn good. Like, she's really good, but she doesn't draw. Not that that's okay. Anyway, so Amadeus he's in my attic, so I don't know. I think that's kind of burned into my memory.
I think one of the first ones I remember seeing was probably the Buddy Holly story. It might have been La Bamba. It was one of those two. The first time I was like learning about an act or a musician who came before that I didn't know about. Like I hadn't even heard the music. I don't think or made the connection that who Buddy Holly was. But it stuck out to me. Was that Nick Nolte or was it Gary Busey? It was Gary Busey. And it stuck out to me, and it still sticks out to this day. And I don't think I've ever watched it since, but it just sticks out of just going through a musician's life and all the stuff that they go through.
I think La Bamba scared me. I mean, I feel like the plane crash scared me. I mean, how many plane crashes can we have with these people? So we lost a lot of people to plane crashes.
Oh. They travel a lot, and they usually travel in small planes.
I know. It's just and the fact that somebody didn't get on the plane, and I don't know.
That was.
It's just a little.
Was that Elvis who didn't get on?
No, not Elvis.
No, not Elvis. Wendy would absolutely
because that
kill
appeared
me right now.
in Walk the Line as well. They brought that story into there.
Walk the Line was I really enjoyed that movie.
I thought it was a phenomenal film.
I thought
it's one of the films that I look at and say, hey, they did a good job at least portraying the voices and actually trying to sing and do the voices, which a lot of the older ones if that are based on musicians, they'll bring in tapes and then they're basically overdubbing or singing over them.
I have a record that I found. That is the Coal Miner's Daughter record, and it's actually Sissy Spacek singing, and she is spectacular as Loretta Lynn.
So there was a couple on my list that I hadn't seen that I wanted to see. Like I wanted to see I'm Not There. I didn't have a chance to get that in this week. The one about Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
There's like 6 different actors that portray him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why this one. I lost it until you said HBO. I wanted to catch the Matt Damon, Michael Douglas, Liberace one.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I had heard good things about that. I just hadn't seen it. And Liberace was one of those, like my parents listened to Liberace when I was young. So I know the music. I've heard the music a lot. And our house was never silent. There was always something going on. So it was like old records or old tapes of Liberace. So it was like when that came on, we didn't have HBO. And so I never went back to look at it. And then you just said HBO and it just reminded me there's that Liberace one. But one of the ones I did look at that it's been in my queue for several years. I did Inside Llewellyn Davis.
It's a good movie.
And this is one of those ones that it's a biopic that's like, it's not a biopic because Llewellyn Davis didn't exist, but it's loosely based on a person who did exist.
Right.
And it's got
The
Oscar
music.
Isaac,
Justin Timberlake,
Adam Driver, and
I love it.
it's a very simple film.
Mm-hmm.
But Oscar Isaac can sing the shit out of that film, and it brought it to another level for me.
Yeah.
And especially like you have one of the opening numbers of him and the lead singer from Mumford, singing vocals together.
It's actually one of my favorite songs.
That like it brought me into that. I'm like, whoa. And then I'm like, as it got on, and it's more just Oscar Isaac and his like personal moments. I'm like, it was a really good film.
That's a great That's a great one to bring up. I forgot about that one for some strange reason. I listen to the album all the time, but
and it doesn't get great reviews, but it was just like one of those things. I feel
it's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody.
I loved it,
but I feel it's a complete film in the way that it told a story. It wasn't the greatest story. It wasn't a happy, feel good movie story, but it was
slow for some people.
It could be slow. There's a lot of it's underlying depression that is in there. So if you're a depressed person, you can latch onto that really quickly. I don't say that looking, I was just like internally, like I go through like depressing moments and it's like, you can latch onto that. And the music that he sings about is not very uplifting music. I mean, but there's something about his voice that brings it to another level. And I think when you can actually bring a film and you can put people in it that can actually sing, and we go back into this, like when you have a movie musical, you can wrap those underneath here as well. Like what makes a really good movie musical is when you actually have people who can sing, not sticking actors or people that can kind of fake it, but it don't quite reach the level it can.
Or get people to bring in people in seats because, so seat fillers.
Yeah.
Not talent.
So I think there's a lot out there. I think we've knocked off a couple of them. If you're in, definitely if you're in the mockumentary, go see This Is Spinal Tap. Eddie and the Cruisers is a good one. If you're looking for a little bit more raw and real, I highly recommend Walk the Line. Ray was a good one for me.
Yes.
Jamie Foxx's performance as Ray was just, I never saw Jamie Foxx during that whole movie. That was just like a complete transformation for me. And I love that when an actor just takes it to a different level. And I recommend if you want to see a good film, go see Inside Llewellyn Davis. I think it's a good film.
And, going through and seeing films that you're not even thinking about their music, or aren't like, for instance, my nephew Derek, he like 8 Mile and Straight Outta Compton. But I actually haven't seen Straight Outta Compton, but I saw 8 Mile. I liked that a lot. And
that touches into like a whole nother, like there's a lot of movies out there that are about the music industry in themselves. You've got 8 Mile, you've got Almost Famous, which is somebody else's in this room's favorite film. High Fidelity,
Empire
Records, things that they're kind of just outside the, hey, we're not about a certain musician, but we're about things that go on in the music industry. And music is a huge part of not only the soundtrack, but the way it tells the story. And so, yeah.
I love when, but High Fidelity, when he says, okay, how am I arranging them? And he's like, alphabetically? No. And then he's like, biographically. He's like, whoa. Anyway, High Fidelity. That's a great movie. It's a great book, actually. It's Nick Hornby, and it's based off Nick Hornby's book, but it's fantastic. The book is great.
So on to the main event here.
He's got somebody.
Okay, I'm going to backtrack just a little bit. So I was talking about Why Do Fools Fall in Love. That was Frankie Lyman's biopic that had Lorenz Tate in it. Just backwards, go back, look it up. It's on HBO. It's also on a couple other stations. Also, Crash won Best Picture the year that.
Oh my god!
Yeah, Reese Witherspoon was won Best Actress for Walk the Line.
Holy cow!
Our buddy, our friend, our brother, Philip won Best Actor that year.
Okay.
The Oscars. So.
That was for Capote.
Yes.
Yeah.
And George Clooney won Best Supporting Actor. And Rachel Weisz won for Best Supporting.
Okay.
Yeah, isn't that like led to part of like Joaquin's like mental breakdown?
Yes.
And he went into
into that.
But yeah, that's a different story altogether. But I just wanted to let us all, I'm filling gaps.
That's okay.
But yeah. Brokeback Mountain did not win Best Picture, but it won Best Director, and Crash won Best Picture, which we all don't like.
Can't stand. This is one of the worst things. I don't know how it happened there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But moving on.
So moving on to the main event, we have the movie that just came out, Bohemian Rhapsody. Who wants to go on and take this one on first?
I'll take it on first.
So Bohemian Rhapsody with Rami Malek.
Yes.
Timmy from Jurassic Park.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I cannot see him and not think of Timmy from Jurassic Park.
I don't even... Yeah, that didn't even...
It's a thing when you know Jurassic Park. Yeah.
he still has the same mannerisms. I'm still thinking of, oh, here we are again in the car.
Who is it? Which one?
He was the bass player.
Oh, okay. So was he?
He was the one who had like the frizzy hair by the end.
Somebody, my friend Kay asked if somebody was in Neverending Story. Were one of them in Neverending Story?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think
there's a couple that were from Game of Thrones. Littlefinger.
Yeah.
Was the manager.
Yeah, he's always playing creepy, sketchy characters.
Yeah, it's his face, man. He looks like a creepy, sketchy character.
I've never seen Raimi in anything.
Ooh.
I didn't. I hadn't seen him.
So his biggest thing he's been known for recently is Mr. Robot.
Right.
And it's crazy good. It's got Christian Slater in it too.
I love Christian Slater.
That's when
you got to go watch Mr. Robot. It's really well written, and he's basically on the verge of like psychotic break of like what's real, what's not. You think just go see it.
Okay. So when I went to see this movie, I was alone, so I didn't have to worry. I wasn't sidetracked by people next to me. Do you like it? Do you not like it? I got to have my own experience, and I don't know about Queen. I listened to it a lot, introduced by Wendy actually, and listened to their music a lot, but I don't know anything about them or Freddie Mercury actually. So when I saw the movie, I just sat there and let it pour over me. So I cried like a baby. Was I manipulated? Looks like I was, but it worked for me. I loved it. I actually Marco Polo Dustin talked about it for probably 15 minutes, and then I put this huge thing on Facebook about it. And Kendra and I are going to go see it tomorrow. And when I wrote my Facebook post, I still hadn't looked into any of the story or any of Freddie Mercury's life.
Before we talk too much about going into his story, you said you knew about his music and you knew very little about Freddie Mercury. What are the two facts that you think pretty much everybody would know about Freddie Mercury?
I knew he was gay.
And?
He died of AIDS.
Okay. You would think that would be pretty much anybody going into the movie would probably know that, right?
Well, yeah, and his teeth, I guess.
Yeah. I had an interesting experience where when he kissed Jim, who would later on become his lover yeah, we'll get to that. There was a vocal response from people in the audience that were gasping, shocked that happened. And I was just like, I looked at my wife, I'm like, did that just happen? Like, these people are audibly like surprised that he did that. And then later when he was coughing up blood, they're like, you could audibly hear somebody like, oh no, he's got AIDS. I'm like,
seriously? You heard them say it?
Yes. At two different times from the same section, but the gasps were not just localized to there. It was like several people around the audience. I'm like, whoa. Wait a minute. How could you go into a movie about Queen and like, I know virtually nothing. I did not, aside from knowing many other pieces of music, those are the only two facts I knew about Freddie. I couldn't tell you the name of any of the band members or any of the managers or what any of the album names were.
Me neither.
But I did know those two facts because I grew up in the 90s and that was what was big. I heard about that.
Right.
And it was just like, wow, mind blown. I thought everybody in the world knew this.
I thought it was interesting the way it started out. Now I feel like I was probably
It's like not knowing that Annie has red hair.
Yeah, red curly hair. Or that she's an orphan. She's an orphan.
What happened to her parents?
Anyway. The movie starts out with you don't see him. They don't show him. They just show the back of him. Bohemian Rhapsody actually comes across his back when he sits up in bed. I thought that was interesting. And then they have him walking with barefooted, and you see the cats and everything. He's walking, and he gets ready to go out onto the stage. Live Aid, 1985. I was 10 years old, and I sat and watched it with Wendy. And we gave I think we may have gotten into our mother's purse, maybe, and gotten a credit card. And gave to Live Aid. Surely we asked her, but I think I could have a strange memory about it. But this started and it bookended the movie was Live Aid. And
so we talk about Live Aid, and this is totally based on 100% true facts from beginning to end.
Mm.
No, what I'm saying is I loved Live Aid, right. And I love that they bookended it with. And then when you go into, they go back 15 years to 1970, right? Correct? Yeah. And how I don't know if that happened or not.
What specifically are you talking about?
How he became part of the band.
It's sort of true.
See, what I was like shocked by, the part that shocked me, and I didn't make an audible thing, is I didn't know he was Pakistani. Like,
me neither.
No idea.
I'm like, Farouk, what? That was like all news to me. But like,
okay,
I didn't make that audible. I'm just like,
I didn't know it either.
I was like, that was interesting.
I also did not realize that the reason why his teeth look like that is because he was born with 4 incisors, extra incisors, and that he even though he was insecure, he didn't want to have surgery because he thought it would help, like, just
vibrato.
his verse.
It's kind of like voice. Barbara and her nose. She didn't want to mess with her nose.
Right.
She thought it affected her singing if she did. So don't break it.
What stuck out to you from the movie? We'll go into the what's not true and what's true.
Okay, just the fact that how they portrayed him. He falls in love with Mary, and I believed it. I believed the love they had. I believed that she loved him, and I believed that how loving he was as a person. Just kind of like I don't know. I like the way he calls people darling. I don't know. I like that. And the fact that the band, in my opinion, the way they work together, somebody would have an idea and they just went with it. Okay. There was no, except for that one tiff. They had a tiff where they get mad at each other for this one song, "I Love My Car" or something. Other than that, I felt like everybody went with. I thought the music and how they came up with the music and how they came up with. I thought it was awesome how they came up with "We Will Rock You." I thought that was really cool. I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. And the filming had some interesting, the way they dove into the tour bus and they go through the tour bus and then they go out into the stage. The filming of that whole sequence is interesting. And then how they do all these colors and everything. They go a little radical with that. But the stage performances, I loved. And I mean, okay, well, in the movie, he tells them that, basically that he has AIDS. So I felt
a week before Live Aid.
Right, when they were going to try to work together again after being separated for years because he went down a dark path, and Mary comes to rescue him, and his manager was a jerk and not answering the phone and didn't give him the message about Live Aid, and he dumps him, and all these crazy things. And I'm thinking, okay, so he's finally gotten there. You want them to get back together. Now they're getting back together, and he's dying, and he can't get his voice to work because he's sick. And then finally he gets on stage, and we have 13 minutes of Live Aid, the performance that they had, and I just cried like a baby. I mean, I was practically sobbing in this movie. And then come home and read about the fact that he didn't even know he had AIDS until 2 years later. And they had never broken up. I mean, they were touring.
It took him like another couple of years before he even told his band members.
Yeah. So that was a manipulation of, I mean, here's the thing. Was I manipulated by the writing? Yes, I was. But you know what? I enjoyed the movie. I loved the movie. I loved the performances. I raved about it. I still enjoy it. I mean, even knowing, even knowing all of it, I still enjoyed it. But I see where it's kind of bullshit. You know what I mean? Where it's kind of like, oh crap. Well, that's not cool.
So watching the movie for me, I enjoyed the musical parts.
Yeah.
I felt as a whole, I felt the movie was disjointed and I didn't know why. I just felt like it was just things aren't flowing in a way that they felt natural. It just kind of like, okay, split cut to this, and you just like complete right turn, or like, well, there was not a nice flow for me. I enjoyed the musical parts. I think Rami just killed it. I mean, he's probably one of the best lip syncers I've ever seen. I mean, for him to pull off some of the stuff, and they didn't do it from far away. I mean, they were right up in his face, and so you saw every little thing that he did and every little movement. And
I got a movement coach.
He got a movement coach for this, which I thought was unique. They had a choreographer at first, and he let go of the choreography so they can work with movement coach. And I think it definitely showed off. It paid off.
Very smart.
I just lost what I was going to say.
Well, the way they came up with how the audience sang.
So my biggest issue, besides like things feeling disjointed, is I felt, even knowing nothing about the band or the characters, on screen, especially the drummer, it started with the drummer, is they felt like they were parodies of characters. Like they weren't portrayals of real people, but they were more of like parodies in a way that like, this is what they want you to see who the person that they were. Does that make sense?
Yes, caricatures, but not
like,
quite.
Caricatures, that's what I'm thinking of. It's like,
it's weird because Clean worked with them.
So close to being a representation, but a little bit overdone.
Right.
Like I felt like the drummer was a little bit over, like he's what you would think of as an 80s hairband drummer.
Not to me.
I'm just saying this is my perspective, and it started taking me out on the moments. And there was times when Rami felt like
he could sing, and he could sing high notes.
But there was times when Rami felt like he was overdoing it a little bit, and then all of a sudden he'd be right back to solid character form. That are like, it felt like to me that they were overplaying it instead of it being a little bit more down to earth. Like, and I think some of that came from whether what happened with the directorial part of this, or it happened because of how they decided to tell the story, which was definitely disjointed in the way certain events happened.
Maybe it does have to do. The directorial part is they have two directors, and we have one was fired. Bryan
Singer was fired, and David Fletcher was brought in.
We don't know why, do we?
We do know why. Bryan Singer was erratic on set. He was not showing up days at a time. He was irresponsible. He and Rami got into fights.
But that was never confirmed by anything. That was just rumors. The studio never came out, so there's nothing official on record as to what happened. That's what we mean by it was not
official. But yeah, I just heard a lot of inner strife. So
that could be a part of it. I thought it was interesting that the writer, oh gosh, you guys,
Anthony,
thank you. The writer is used to writing about real people. Wrote The Darkest Hour, and he wrote
Peter and
Theory of Everything.
Known for that, yeah. They're known for doing biopics on British subjects and people.
Is that so?
I'm pretty sure if we go back. I don't know if we talked about it in this. I know I talked about Darkest Hour, but I believe Darkest Hour wasn't told the way it
chronologically.
Was, the way things actually happened.
So he has a habit of doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I get having to do it for creative license, but personally, as a writer and history buff, it takes me out of the movies when I know.
So he definitely was. It was a manipulation factor.
Yes, there's
absolutely.
A lot. My problem with the film is that you have two of the surviving members, minus the bases, have a say in the production. So I had a feeling that they were making themselves look, like you said, not quite caricature in my taste, but just looked good.
They want you to see them how they think you want to see them.
Yeah,
that's fine with me.
But when it's just...
And I think that's where, there was rumors. There was actually, this was happening. Sacha Baron Cohen's film was going forward with the portrayal of him as Freddie Mercury, but the band didn't want him to do it, so he couldn't get permission from the band. Right. But his was supposed to be that more down-to-earth, raw, like who Freddie Mercury was, and get into that. And what I had read as I went through the next day after the film was that the band wanted a much more sanitized, family-friendly, so you could bring your kids to see this film.
Yeah, they put a rated R movie into PG-13. That's what they said.
Yeah.
So I mean, while I enjoyed the film for what it was, just constantly the writing element kept sticking out to me and bothering me. And again, I love Rami's portrayal a whole lot, and I love Jim Hutton's. I love that tenderness between them. Mm-hmm. But the whole Mary situation for me was like, why are you guys together? Like, I saw that moment, but I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that she loves him. You're telling me that he loves her, but you're not showing me it. I mean, the piano scene was lovely. It was great. The whole upside down piano thing was fantastic. But it's like, I felt they were just together. I didn't see anything blossom between them really. Besides maybe it was just me. I don't know. I just didn't feel.
I don't know.
It could be just I know their history and that kind of thing, and maybe that was why I was thinking the whole time they're not really going to. But I just didn't feel. I saw the love between them, but I didn't know why.
What was that?
Okay. But I think
we have an audiobook starting.
I can't stop. I can't stop it, actually. There we go. I am so sorry.
It's okay.
That is the weirdest thing.
Ghost in the studio. I guess really what it capped it off for me was the whole Live Aid situation where we have them using, again, it's dramatic license.
Yeah, it totally.
But it's like, he didn't tell them for 2 years, and it's just like, what? I guess my favorite part of the whole film was
he didn't tell him for 2 years, and he didn't know he had AIDS until after Live Aid.
Yeah, right.
So
it was just weird.
But they changed Live Aid's performance for me when I watched it. That is why I'm crying. You know what I mean? So that I
think that's kind of what they wanted to do, is they just wanted to get to that part and like make all the musical creations. So like, how Bohemian Rhapsody came up. And it's kind of like they painted with a broad brush and then started doing a little Bob Ross to fill in.
Sure.
But they didn't do all the fine detail work. And they're like, this looks good enough.
Right.
We don't have to put everything the right way. We tell an entertaining story. I give it that. Me not knowing every single bit of history going in, it was an entertaining story. I enjoyed it for what it was. What ruined it for me was the next day reading how way out of whack history was,
right,
in terms of that.
See, it ruined it for you?
I mean, looking back at the movie, yes.
I can understand you. I can understand that. That's fine. I totally get that.
She gets you. She doesn't get me.
My favorite part, I guess, would be the scene where Freddie takes Jim home. And that's my favorite part of the whole film, where he says, he takes him home, says, you want to have tea. And they're with his family, and his father and him have that moment where they reconnect.
Again.
That's what got to me. I said, that's powerful. And then they said, get the television. So that made the whole film for me. I guess I had to wait for that point. But again, I mean,
of course, they didn't get together the way they said they got together.
Yeah, it's just a lot of stuff like that. Just, I mean, I guess knowing history and knowing stuff like that and knowing about Queen, watching the movie, I'm like, that's disappointing that they did it this way and they did it that way. They didn't have to do it that way. And then, again, you could have framed it so much. But then again, they're behind the film. They wanted to be the way they wanted to be.
Okay. So backtracking a little bit. How did your wife enjoy it?
Grace and I were both kind of like, Grace liked it. She, I would say, enjoyed it. But she said, and she'll say it again, I felt this movie was just made just to get Queen back into limelight and sell records, because they felt, being in the light for 50 years, that they were trying to get their albums out. So she found it to be a vehicle for money. And
did you feel
well, the next stage of Queen is it's already it's Queen and Adam Lambert.
Right. So
what?
Yeah, do you remember Adam Lambert?
I know exactly.
He's been singing with Queen for a while, and actually they're putting out. They're supposed to be putting out some new music, like new written Queen music with Adam Lambert.
I will say, a scene that is entertaining. However, it did take me out of it. Was seeing Mike Myers.
That was it. We had to have that moment. That made
insane.
Me I laughed out loud during that scene.
I was one of the few people in the crowd that laughed. I enjoyed that moment, and I truly wonder how many people realized it was Mike Myers, except for the people that grew up with Mike Myers.
I can't believe you wouldn't know. I mean, I don't know. Okay, right. So if you haven't grown up with Mike Myers, I guess you wouldn't know it was him. But the makeup wasn't even that good, people.
I think that was kind of the
point. Okay, that's. I mean, are they giving him a thank you?
And so on the history of like things, the whole Mike Myers character was a fake character,
right?
Like the guy didn't exist, and so that whole scene, which went on for like felt like 15, 20 minutes, just a huge portion of the film. And
then he comes back later, having having Live Aid make all this.
And it's basically their way of just saying
thank you.
Like, no, it was their basically way of showing like this is how we were treated by many of the people in the industry in regards to this song and this album, is that it just didn't fit into what everybody thought everybody wanted it at that time. So they boiled it down to this one character who didn't exist.
One thing that
but he brought Mike Myers put Bohemian Rhapsody in his
that's
movie.
why I guess that's what I said I think that he was brought into the film because as a thank you, because
exactly.
What I wish they didn't do with that though was not have a center shot of Mike Myers when he told that joke. Let it be more of a room shot, and him throwing it out there would have been even more funny, but they focused directly on Mike Myers as he was talking about kids banging in cars to this, and then cut away. I was like, it's
ridiculous.
It would have been a much better joke as a throwaway.
To, reference the movie.
Wayne's World. Party time.
The thing that really for me also was that I like the opening sequence, and I like the end cap sequence too, where, I mean, Grace and a couple of people that know me when I do theater, when I used to act in college, you know, and even when I direct, I bounce around a lot. I hop and I just bounce around the premises. I jog around the place. I ground myself. So seeing Freddie actually bounce and move and just get himself energized and excited. The guy sweat a lot too. Like he really put his soul and body into every performance. Yeah. And it was impressive seeing Rami actually have that same energy too. I know he was acting, but still he had to give 100% every night
spot on
to do that. So Grace's one thing was she said the beer never moved on the piano. So she was watching the liquid on the piano and said, it's not Jurassic Parking, which is when the Ripple. So,
oh my gosh, what an interesting point.
She watches things like that, like I do, but she notices it's not rippling. It's not da-da.
I didn't even think about that.
I'm just impressed that they remembered to put it on there to replicate the scene.
So they had people.
Well, the band was there. I mean, they had people who were actually there helping.
They had people
they had
sing.
Footage.
Yeah.
They had people sing Bohemian Rhapsody and send it in, and they to their website or whatever. And so they brought in all of these people singing Bohemian Rhapsody and brought them together, and that is how they created the crowd singing along with him. I think that's cool. I mean, things like that I think are pretty cool. But yeah, watching him on stage, I went home and then watched it on YouTube. Even the way I watched every detail, and he was spot on with it. I mean, I love the way they made sure that was perfect. Like that.
You kind of have to.
All of the movements were perfect. So.
Well, here's my thing. I'm going to end on this, and I won't, because I can go on forever. But when I do biopics, like I wrote one about Conan O'Brien in college. And Anthony McCartan wrote Theory of Everything. And he said that writing a biopic when you don't have information is like piloting a spaceship to, say, Jupiter or to Pluto. You see your target, you see it there, you launch, and you keep it in sight, but you don't know what is going to happen in between. So with my Conan script, for example, I didn't know a lot of information. I had to read a lot about him in college, but I had to fill in the gaps. In this story, the gaps were filled, and they still chose to navigate around, go backwards, forward, and meander. And that in itself took me out of the film a lot. I enjoyed it. I had to turn that off a lot, but I enjoyed it for what it was. But I wish we had not the sanitized.
You went into it knowing
the truth. Yeah.
See, I didn't.
And a lot of people don't. So.
And if you don't, I mean, I do, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, honestly, mine is a go see it. Go see it. And I know you didn't care about seeing it in IMAX, but to me, I want to see it in IMAX just for that Live Aid concert. And I do. I just want to see that in IMAX. So I think that'll be cool. Hopefully we'll get there.
All right. That wraps up our stew for the day. The next show, Anthony's got the topic.
And I don't know what it is, but I will find it soon. I'll let you guys know.
Just don't tell us the Friday before.
I won't. I don't do that. No. That's not fair.
And the movie is to be
determined.
To be determined too. Right. We like to keep you in suspense.
I do.
So let's start winding down our show here. Let's reach into our grab bag. Anything in the kids' corner?
No. I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize. I didn't see anything worth watching for kids either.
I didn't.
Can I
tried.
say one thing? Why is Paw Patrol on at 9 o'clock at night?
What is what?
Paw Patrol.
I don't even know what Paw Patrol is.
I do.
I have to go see it.
That's for those kids that don't go to sleep.
That's
My daughter's like, Paw Patrol. I'm like, why is it on at 9 o'clock at night? You should be in bed at 7. What are we doing?
That's what DVRs are for.
That's right.
Crazy.
But DVRs, you can watch them whenever you want.
Is that what you want to say, Paw Patrol?
I say, no, I'm just saying, I just little
just kidding.
Annoyance on my part for Nick at Night, putting Nicktoons. So
Game app of the week, go see above. I think I talked enough about that. What's on your radar and what's on your queue?
Well, let's see here.
Oh, I think we all watched the same show. We all saw Sabrina.
No.
No.
I got confused.
We want to see Sabrina.
I want to see Sabrina.
W stands for want, so. I'm kidding.
Watch.
No, W was watched.
Did you see Sabrina?
No, I've seen a trailer for it, but I have to watch it.
I want to watch Sabrina. You watched it?
I've watched it.
And
so
can you just say yes or no?
In short, it's a yes for me.
Okay, good. In short.
I for some reason I lost sight that Sabrina is actually based off a comic book.
Right.
So she's from Archie Comics.
Yeah,
she's a side of that. And so the Melissa Joan Hart version of Sabrina is just like not even like close to what they put out. This is dark. There is times when it's pretty violent. So be prepared for some like, oh, wow, I didn't expect that.
I'm excited about
moment. I really enjoyed it. It actually, and I will say this, I wasn't a huge fan of Harry Potter films. I enjoyed this way better this was more engaging to me than a Harry Potter film. So I'm looking forward to
Grace hear that?
The next season already. Okay. So I like what they did with it. And I thought the kids' characters they're pretty good. So back to Tony.
I see that you have Outlaw King on your queue. That's on mine as well. So I trailered for that this morning by accident. House of Cards just dropped on Netflix, so I'll be watching that. It's the last season, so we'll see how it goes. I'm trying to avoid spoilers on that, as well as people bashing it or praising it on the internet, because there's a lot of people who binged it when it first came out.
And a lot of those people are because of Kevin Spacey leaving because of that whole thing, and so they just jump on this.
He makes bad decisions. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's it for me. I mean, I'm going to be watching House of Cards this week. Probably finish it by the time we come back, and I'll be talking about that in my recommendation list.
Okay.
So yeah, so I caught in Sabrina. Titans is now on episode 3 on the DC universe. I'm enjoying it. The last one, they introduced the Doom Patrol, which is going to be the next show that they get, and Brendan Fraser plays Mr. Robot in that. And so it was like, I heard his voice. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's Brendan Fraser. I completely forgot about this. It's a little hokey at times, but they're trying to keep it a little bit more grounded. And I like my superheroes grounded. I like them
real
to have a little consequence to them. I wrapped up Man in the High Castle season 3. I don't know why I keep going back to this series. It's not a great written series. It is a good series. There's something weird about the Nazi era. Like, same thing like Indiana Jones and Nazis. It just brings you in, and it's fun to watch. But the whole thing of Man in High Castle is the Nazis are in control and in charge, and it's just like, it feels weird. It's just so. Season 3 was long, drawn out. I'll still watch a season 4 if they get there, but I'm just like, okay, we're now into season 3. You guys need to do something big here. You're really drawing this out.
And
I'm going to interrupt her.
No,
I'm almost done.
No, you're fine.
And on my radar, we got Girl in the Spiderweb comes out next week.
Looks good.
Holmes and Watson comes out next week. I'll probably watch both of them if I have the time. I know at least watch Girl in the Spider's Web. Holmes and Watson is going to be more of those. I just want to see something funny. And then the following week, we got Fantastic Beasts come out, Outlaw King, House of Cards, and a ton on DVR that I've got to catch up on.
I just basically watched Daredevil. That's all I could really get. And so we all know how I feel about that. Not Daredevil. Yeah, Daredevil
season 3. You got the right one.
Brain is not. House of Cards, I'm looking forward to, and sorry for your loss. I really want to see this.
What's that one?
This one, okay. Now this is what I was going to say earlier. The network is Facebook Watch. Have you heard of that before?
It means you can only watch it on Facebook.
That's the strangest thing I've ever heard. I didn't know about that, but okay. But it has what's this? Her? She's the Olsen.
Oh yeah, sorry for your loss. That was the one. I think I saw trailers for that.
I'm sorry.
Like over the summer.
Olsen, Elizabeth Olsen is in it, and it's actually deals a lot with loss and depression and I think dealing with death and how it transforms you. So I thought that sounded fantastic. Of course, that the drearier the better for me. Jason's just like, I don't understand, and then I don't think I'll be able to do both this and Sabrina, but I want to see Sabrina too. So that's it. Sabrina's
dark. It's not depressing.
I have a problem with dark too. It's like dark and depressing. If it's funny, I'm having a hard time with it. I do want to actually see the movie, The Father Son.
The with Timothy Chalamet and Steve Carell.
Yeah, Dustin saw it. He loved it, and I'm interested in seeing that one too. So hopefully I'll get that.
So it's called what?
Beautiful Boy. That's what it's called. So there we go.
All right. I think that wraps up our show.
I think so too.
We're still long.
4 minutes. Yeah. And we can't do it, can we?
We just like to talk. We cut out a whole section and here we are.
Sorry,
Tony,
guys.
where can we find you?
I'm on Facebook, Anthony Jack Carter 167. I'm on Instagram at Ant Carter 85. And Twitter, SMTORCHIO.
And in Twitter news, somebody on here is now being followed by the 44th President of the United States.
Barack Obama is following me on Twitter, and I have
We don't know why.
We don't know why, but you know what? I'll take it. So at VB Vidmar,
that
on
tells
Twitter.
you how engaging her stuff are. Of Barack Obama is following Valerie. So you head on over, start following her, blow up her feed.
He just started following me.
Hey, you said something that he wanted to listen to.
I don't know what to say. So VB Vidmar on Twitter. I'll keep tweeting the random tweets, I guess. I don't even really.
Chirp, chirp, chirp.
And then I believe Penny Lane 64 on Instagram.
And you can find me pretty much everywhere as GF Media or GF Media CEO. You can find us at culturalstew.net, at culturalstewnet on Twitter, and culturalstew on Facebook. And if you're listening to this and you've actually got it, you are listening through our new feed. We actually migrated our website and our feed over to a new host. So if you are getting this from somewhere else, hey, we've updated our feed. So go to our website and subscribe to the new feed. Let us know how you're doing. Oh, I'm getting the fingers here. And it's not the impolite finger, it's the weight finger.
It's the weight finger because we live in Rochester, and I just wanted to give out a kudos to the Rocky Horror Show at oh my gosh,
Blackfriars Theater.
God, my brain. Sorry, Blackfriars Theater. I saw it last night. It's fantastic.
Need to keep our show short.
I'm sorry,
start fading
because our brains are working. But I saw it last night. It was great, fantastic. I thought it was fantastic, but I just want to let people know that they're actually taking it to New York City, January 11th, confirmed. So the show is actually going to hit Broadway or off Broadway. But yeah, so it's a great show. I think it's sold out maybe, but you can still maybe get tickets, maybe.
Yeah, what I would say if you're listening to this and you are interested, call up box office. I think their number is 585-454-1260. And just at least get put on their waiting list they'll call you and let you know to get in for tickets. Like today, I think they had 7 openings for this afternoon's performance. So things like that happen.
Yeah, I believe, yeah.
And they added performances, so there might still be tickets left to the added performances.
You can see the filming styles of Ron.
Me.
The beginning and the end.
Cheap film, but it worked.
Still. He's part of it.
We made some cheap B movie type material.
It's awesome.
To kind of fit into the
That's cool
thing. It was Danny's idea that was executed, and I think it worked
and it's going to go to New York, man. There you go.
If they use that when they go to New York.
They will.
So, all right. That's it.
That's it.
Until next time.
Ciao.
Have a great
The intro and break music is Please Listen Carefully by Jazir, available through the Creative Commons license from Free Music Archive. The outgoing music is provided by Epidemic Sound. Please see our show notes for details on what the outgoing song is and who it is by. And also, as always, if you have a piece of music that you'd like us to play or consider playing, please contact us today.
Protection, I will always be around. Will it ever get sunny? Oh, I wonder, honey. I'm tired of being in the line. You say you will. I'm calling your addicting brain. You say you will, yeah. I'm crossing the obsessive line. You say you will. I'm calling your addicting brain.
Like what you've heard? Want to continue to hear more? Please consider Patreon. What is Patreon, you ask? Patreon is a content creator support site, a way for people to support the things they love and allow creators to continue creating the content that they love. Please consider heading over to patreon.com/GFMedia and becoming a Patreon supporter today.